I don't know. Mr. Nick Dixon to say the invocation tonight, please. Let us bow.
May we pray? Dear Heavenly Father, we come together today, first of all, to give you thanks, Heavenly Father. We thank you for this beautiful day that you have blessed us with, Heavenly Father. Not only that, we thank you for our beautiful city, Heavenly Father. We pray that in everything we do, that we acknowledge you so that you will be pleased whatever the decisions we make. We ask that you bless each person who's here, and we ask that you bless each citizen of Monroe. Heavenly Father, as we conduct your business, we pray that everything is done decent and in order so that you will be pleased with every decision that is made. I ask you in all of this in your name, Jesus, who is the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Let the record reflect all council members present. We need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Approved by Ms. Malcolm. Second by Mr. Adcock. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda passes. Now we need an approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Adcock.
Second.
Second by Mr. Little. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. We'll move into the public forum. We have several people signed up for public comment, but all of these are on the rezone, so we will wait until we get to the rezone in just a minute. Now we'll move into the public hearing, which is a rezone annexation on 0 Michael Etchison Road. And could everyone please turn your cell phones off or silence in one, please? Thank you. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is petition number 14-00227 by applicant Stephen A. Bainham. It is a proposed zoning to B2 from County I-1, and it reflects a total acreage of 2.1376 acres. Proposed use is commercial use. The code office staff recommendation is for approval. And just to read the standards here on that, the applicant Stephen Bainham requests a rezone annexation of this property located at 0 Michael Etchison Road. Property had lot 3 and 4. The property, lot 3 has 240.94 feet of road frontage. Lot 4 has 218.77 on Michael Etchison Road. Property presently zoned I-1 County. Requested zoning classification B2 City. Requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby property. Change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent property. The subject property does not have, or does have, the economic use as currently zoned. The subject property, the change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools. This property is in the county, therefore the future land use plan does not apply to this property as of yet.
Okay. Is the property owner here?
I'm here to represent Dr. Bailey.
Okay. You come up and you can address the council if they got any questions. You have approximately 10 minutes.
Sure.
If you need it.
If anybody got any questions, I'm here to try to answer them. I'm here representing Dr. Bainham on this annex.
Can you just briefly go in and tell him what he's going to do to the property?
Well, I don't think he really knows right now, but he had thought about building some medical buildings there. At one time, he thought about doing a restaurant, but right now, I think it's just all up in the air, about what he's going to do. I'm not real sure.
Okay.
I'm sure it won't be anything worse than a restaurant or medical building, as far as I know.
Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay, thank you very much. If anybody's against it, you'll have 3 minutes to come back
Okay.
up. Does anyone else want to speak in favor of this rezone? Okay, does anyone want to speak against this rezone? Okay, hearing none, we'll close this part of the public hearing and bring it before council. We need a motion.
I have one question, Patrick, if I may.
Okay?
Will you refresh my memories of what uses B2 off, think we do B2?
Well, it's pretty varied, and pretty wide open, but it's almost any business use that you would see down through the downtown corridor or Spring Street. Those are highway business zoning, but most of those businesses would fall into the B2 as well. So that type of business.
And medical office buildings also.
They would also do that, yes, sir.
No waiting on motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Malcolm,
Second.
second by Mr. Purvis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Now we'll hear the annexation. Is that correct? Or is that, we have to vote on it. We have to vote on it.
Rezone and annexation. That's correct. We have a motion on the annexation.
Now we'll talk about the annexation for Michael Etchison Road. Since it's already been discussed, we've been up here. Does anyone else like to speak in favor of the annexation on 0 Michael Etchison Road? Hearing none, does anyone like to speak against the annexation of 0 Michael Etchison Road? Hearing none, we'll bring it before the council. We have a motion on the annexation of 0 Michael Etchison Road.
Motion on annexation.
We have a motion by Ms. Dixon, second by Ms. Scott. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Item B, we have a rezone on 221 Baker Street. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is petition 14-00023 by Monroe Walton Properties LLC. This item has been before you before. We remanded it back to the Planning Commission just because they didn't give a recommendation in the first meeting. So they met on it again, and we've come up with, again, Planning Commission has not proffered any conditions or recommendation. Seeing as how they haven't made a recommendation, according to our zoning ordinance, it would be brought to you as if they recommended to approve it. If you have any questions further on it, we've discussed it at length in the past, and I know you're probably all curious. But we do have also, if you'd like to entertain a motion to rezone, we have prepared some conditions by the staff and all the stakeholders involved in the property that you do have in front of you there that you could consider as conditions of the rezone if you were to make a motion to approve it.
Why
Okay.
can't the planning commission do a yay or nay as to rezone? That's what I can't understand.
I haven't heard a better question in a long time, and I apologize for, but we have made an effort to prepare some conditions that we think would, they should have considered in their deliberations and brought them before you for as staff recommendations.
Mr. Kelly, I noticed in the minutes from one of those meetings you made the statement that a PRD zoning would require 10 acres minimum with a recommendation of planning and zoning, it can be down to 5 acres minimum?
That's correct.
Okay, how does that relate then to us in making that decision? Because it's an 8.5 acre tract, right?
It is 8.5 acres. They presented it as an 8.5 acre tract as their PRD request, and not having gotten any recommendation from the planning commission, that would also come to you as it had been recommended to be approved. This is part of their application.
Okay, the property owners there. Okay. You'll come to the podium and introduce yourself. You have 10 minutes to address the council.
First, I'd like to thank you all for having us here tonight. My name is George Baker, and we're asking to rezone this 8.5 acres right here. We're out here at Hammond Drive and Baker Street. We have been developing over time our town center, what we're calling East Village, where the Walton County Government Building is right here. Here's Tim Stewart, and this is DFAX. We are reinvesting in the area and trying to do a quality project out here. We've got aesthetic controls and we've had plan approval. We feel like we've gotten some nice buildings out here requiring street trees, sidewalks. We've put in a master detention pond and put in some infrastructure improvements. This next phase, if y'all were to approve it, would be the 64 units of apartments. We believe it would tie in well with our town center here. What my father just gave to you is several things, but one thing is an adjoining uses area. We've got residential on this side, some apartments and professional up here, and commercial over here. We've also got a petition of support letter on Olympian Way. All but one of the residents, and they're here, I believe they'll speak, has signed it along with Mr. Peters and Ms. Fambro. We've also, there's a letter from a church in Greenville that adjoins the project, this project right here that Prestwick built in Greenville, South Carolina. And they're basically saying they're very happy with the project. They share a driveway with it, and they would recommend Prestwick companies and this project that we're proposing here. As I said, it ties into our master plan, ties into the urban redevelopment plan, and everybody talks about the live, work, play, mixed-use developments that they want today, and we feel apartments is an important part of that. And let me introduce Chuck Young, and he can tell you about the apartments he's going to build.
Good evening, everyone. Chuck Young with Prestwick Development Company, Vice President of Development. Prestwick Companies, again, has been around since 2008. We've done 23 properties. We pride ourselves on our quality, and being community members, we regularly donate to local schools and nonprofits that are doing great things in the community, both people folks who live on our site and other community members and institutions outside of our site. The plan that we're proposing, again, 64 units. Nothing physically has changed since the last time we brought this before the group. Still community center, pool, picnic facilities, fitness center, business center. It's made out of brick and hardy plank siding, nothing but the highest standards of construction materials. Based on conversations with various folks, we have offered up as 2 items within the zoning conditions. One would be to go ahead and provide a courtesy officer unit, free of charge, no rent, to an officer to live there and walk the grounds on occasion when they are not on duty. The other one is, in order to facilitate hopefully getting a few teachers and things living on our site, that we've offered up 3 of the 64 units as market rate units, which mean there are no income restrictions that would normally come along with the tax credit product. The property, as previously discussed, is also Earthcraft. certified, and in that package that Mr. Baker handed out, there's a copy from an actual utility bill in our Greenville project. A 2-bedroom unit, and that utility bill is $54 a month, and there's no gas at our properties. It's all electric, so that's the full kit and caboodle utility bill for that particular month, and that is pretty much the average utility bill for a unit that size at our property. Just wanted to reemphasize again that we have a good number of the neighbors who are in support of the project, and of course the letter from the church up in Greenville, who we're great neighbors with up there. So, Catherine.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Kathy Zickert. I'm with the law firm of Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, and I represent the property owner here. And I'm here this evening to talk to you a little bit about the legal framework that surrounds this application. And let me say at the outset, I have a great deal of respect for the city attorney. I consider him a friend, and I'm not by any means suggesting that you should accept my word for something. I think it would be appropriate for you to ask him. But I'm going to tell you why I think from a legal standpoint this application needs to be approved. In 2007, you adopted a redevelopment plan, and maybe not all of you were on the council at that point in time, but as a pronouncement of policy, you adopted a redevelopment plan. And in 2008, you adopted that redevelopment plan in a manner which expanded it. And within this redevelopment plan, the entire purpose was to encourage redevelopment of less fortunate areas of the city. And additionally, within the plan, there is an express statement that one of the ways to do that is with state-assisted financing programs for affordable housing. That's what you all did. That is your policy. And this particular property is within that redevelopment plan area. For you to turn it down because of a sentiment that you don't want more apartments is contrary to what you have already determined is the way that Monroe ought to develop. You know, I do this all over, folks. And everywhere I go, I hear the same things. We don't want more apartments. We don't want the families with kids. We don't want Section 8 housing. I hear it all over. You know, why don't you build this at market rate housing? And like it or not, a policy of banning apartments just because we don't want them anymore has some real problems in terms of Fair Housing Act ramifications. You can't discriminate against families with children. You can't take an action that has the effect of eliminating housing opportunities for others who are likely to be members of a minority group. Can't do it. And that's effectively what such a policy does. The ultimate irony in my mind, though, is I certainly lived in an apartment at one point in time, and I am willing to bet that all of you did, too. If you didn't, you're very, very fortunate, because starting out in life, it's awfully difficult to live anywhere else. And I managed to do it without stealing or bringing down the property values in the neighborhood that adjoined me, and just generally managed to still be a good citizen despite the fact that I lived in an apartment. Affordable housing is something we are obligated to provide. And that's all we are trying to do with this product. The staff has derived a list of 12 or 14 conditions. I can't even remember at this point. I think it's 14. It's one of the most detailed sets of conditions that you will ever see that require us to use the materials that we're showing you, that require us to maintain this property, that require us to invest certain amounts of money back into the property to make sure it is maintained. And you could approve any other project, and you could call it high-end multifamily, and you won't get the kinds of guarantees of quality that you're going to get with, first, these conditions, and second, with the fact that this is a program that is supervised by the Department of Community Affairs. This is a 15-year program. There are strings attached to the money. Those strings require that these things be upkept in a most professional way. And you have another one of these projects, as I understand it, in Monroe, which has been kept up appropriately. I have pictures of, what is the name of that project? Skyline Trace. It looks fine, and the materials in this project will be able to be maintained and will also look fine. At the end of 15 years, what generally happens with these is they get sold to market rate developers because they have been so well maintained and so carefully protected that they're an excellent product to then provide a different type of housing need, to serve a different type of housing need. I'm sorry?
1 minute.
Okay. Then I'm going to let the next person speak.
Anybody else? Okay. Y'all have a chance to come back if anybody speaks against this. Does anybody else in the audience like to speak for this rezone? Okay, Mr. Howell.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you.
I'm sorry. State your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
I was going backwards, sorry.
Sorry.
My name's John Howard. I'm 432 Walton Circle, right down the street, Monroe, Georgia, 30655. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for hearing me. I am on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I figured we had a question that I needed to address. We spent 6 hours in training last Thursday to go over our planning and zoning do's, do-nots, and what you need from us. And the one thing that was stated by our trainer was, don't do nothing. And then we
And you didn't do
proceeded
nothing.
to send you nothing. I have reviewed the site. I've grown up in Walton County. I grew up in the city of Monroe. I have a particular vested interest in the success and betterment of this town. And after reviewing the type of property that's planning on being put at Olympia Way in Baker Street, in my opinion, it is going to be very fitting for the town. It's going to be very much in the best interest of this town. It is going to influence, hopefully, the parties who own some of the dilapidated and rundown rental houses to bring those up to specs just for the competition. So I made the motion to rezone with the condition of 8.5 acres being met with this plan that was put in place, and I got no second. That happens. That happens. The chairman then called for another member of Planning and Zoning to either offer a motion to deny, there was no motion, or to offer an approval with additional conditions, and there was no motion. In that case, it died, and we sat here and crickets chirped. But I felt it was an obligation to you as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission to tell you that I'm in favor. I'm go on record. And I think it would be a really big mistake if we let this go without occurring. I know the Bakers have a master plan that is live, work, play. And I also know that they have offered portions of multifamily districted property to be put back into an industrial zone. So we'll have a zero net effect of 64 units out, 64 units in. But I appreciate your time. Again, my name is John Howard, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this rezone?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Glenn Money at 1561 Overlook Pass Road. More tangent to my reason for being here, the pastor of First Baptist Church for the last 17 years, just right behind us at the corner of Wayne and McDaniel. And I do encourage the adoption of this rezoning in this project. And I do so with a disclaimer. I'm friends and pastor to the landowner. I'm also friend and pastor to folks with various degrees of disagreement on the other side. I'm a pastor to almost everybody on Olympian Way, and a friend and pastor to most of the folks sitting in front of me right here. So I've got to set all that aside just to share with you my feelings about the project. I encourage its approval. One, because like Mr. Howard, I believe it's a good project. It's a good-looking project in a part of our town that is simply becoming more and more desolate. For years, that was my end of town. That's where our kids went to school. That's where we shopped for groceries. And y'all know that Monroe doesn't look like that anymore. But more specifically, I want to speak for a group in our community that I think this benefits, that sometimes I don't think gets spoken up for nearly enough. And that's hard-working folks who make $10, $12, $15, maybe $18 an hour. I mean, these folks are our LPNs and our CNAs at the hospital. They're bank tellers. They're paraprofessionals and secretaries at our high schools. They're the entry-level folks running the car rental dealership here in town right out of college. I know because my son did that right out of college, and that's where he started. And that salary would have fit inside that. It's your RNs who work for doctors here in town. I know because my wife did that for years, and I know what that salary's like. For divorced folks who are looking for a place to land. The people that we're talking about that this benefits aren't derelict folks. They're not the least of these. They're hard-working folks. You can work real hard in Monroe, Georgia, and not exceed the limits of qualifying for these properties. And I think these are the kind of folks we want to honor, and we want to give them an opportunity to live in a place that's safe and dignified and financially sustainable. And I think it's a good thing to do. I know there's objections around having more apartments. I believe apartments are more a wave of the future than they have been in the past. But I understand that also this is different. It's a higher level than what we've got that we compare to in apartments. And I know some folks object because they don't want the government in the midst of these programmings whatsoever. That's a question of ideology. But the program, as I understand it, it's not illegal, it's not immoral, in my mind, not objectionable. It's just available. And we've got to decide whether we do it or not. And my strong recommendation to you is that we do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this rezone? Okay. Does anyone like to speak against this rezone? Okay.
Steve Long, 110 Olympian Way, Monroe, and I spoke last time and I submitted a text to you, and I hope you all still have it and read it. And you know, we've all discussed this since the last meeting, and the builder and the developer, you know, have made some concessions. Unfortunately, they don't go far enough. They'd have to be massaged, amended. They're not detailed enough. I've studied this kind of thing for years. I've been involved in development of a lot of projects. You know, it's out my back door, and quite frankly, I feel like it's going to depreciate every home anywhere near it. And we're picking winners and losers here tonight. One winner, 30 losers, or 30 winners and one loser. Everybody here in the room has something at stake in this. If you're a business owner, you'll get more customers if they build those apartments. If you're a landowner nearby, this rezoning affects your ability to rezone your property. And I just request that you vote against it. And it's unfortunate, like I said before, a great project, benefits everyone, raises property values for everyone, and is an asset to the city, the community. And this one doesn't go far enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak against this? Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Long. I'm a product of Walton County, the Walton County schools, and if I can survive 3 more days, I'm going to finish number 41. And I'm looking forward to that. But I can say definitely a lot of things. I'm not good at politics, but I'm real good at my homework. And I've done a lot of homework about this. And my husband and others have spoke with the logistics about this, but I have a question for the council. I love this community. My sisters and I and our families work in this community. We've done a lot in this community. We grew up here. My husband and I moved back here 20 years ago because we wanted to be here, not somewhere else. This group of people has a great deal of insight. Now, I spent 41 years teaching my students at school. Insight is the one thing that I hope more than anything they take away from me. You have to look beyond today, tomorrow, and on down the road. You can't think about at the moment. And that's what we have been trying to do. I know I teach a lot of the children that Reverend Money spoke about that need these homes, but I'll tell you what they need more than that. They need a home. They need a family. We need homes here. You have a lot of great ideas and innovative ideas for this community, but you're going to need a tax base. And you can't do that with just apartments. You've got to have homes. And there are right now only a few communities right here in the city limits that are still neighborhoods. And we are a fine neighborhood. We are not some of those desolate houses or the end of the street, because my friend here lives next door to me, so I was kind of taken back at that. But I do want you to know I have a lot of faith in you, because I know you are going to think much further ahead. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak against this?
Norman Garrett, 1241 South Madison Avenue. And I hope all you council members think about it in a business that's actually coming into Monroe. Monroe is already set up with about 65–70% of rental properties. Add more rental properties, only going to decrease the companies that actually want to come in. When you got rental property, no one is invested in rental property. They jump up and leave anytime they get ready. And the fact that they saying they think this is going to be a good idea is mind-boggling to me. Don't, like the gentleman said, only one person going to benefit out the whole thing. It's going to be one person looking to sell land, and everybody else looking to figure out a way to get out and run that rental property. The whole city is almost rental property. Who want to walk out their door every time they go somewhere and see a different neighbor every time? I live around a lot of rental properties, so I know that you don't want rental properties in your neighborhood. I don't know who they talking to over there in their area that they keep saying everybody is for it. I talk to the same people in that area, and they're not for that. So I don't know why we keep talking to different people and everybody staying in the same area. But we ask that you turn this down. The fact that they had to keep sending this back to planning and zoning is an issue by itself. I don't know why they're not voting to turn it down. But when he speak out his mouth and said, if you don't vote for yes, if you don't vote nay, it's a yeah. If I ask you a question and you don't answer, it ain't answered. So there is no such thing as if you don't vote, it's an automatic yes. That's a bunch of nonsense, and I want you to look at it as being nonsense. That's just like if you ask me, is my name Norman Garrett, and I sit here like I don't know. You know it's Norman Garrett, but I still didn't acknowledge it. So I respect Patrick, but that's all fine and good, but what he's saying is a bunch of foolishness. Now, if they want to go to North Carolina, South Carolina, wherever Greenville is, that they think that property actually doing well won't they put one up there, another one up there? Monroe is not the place where we actually need more rental properties. We need homeowners, like the woman said, homeowners, not rental owners. We got enough rental owners. Everywhere you turn, we got rental property, rental property, rental property. No one want to come into Monroe when every time you turn around, we have more rental property. Like he said, he already got a 64-acre set up for rental property. So he's supposed to just be able to say, you know what, I don't want this one, I take this one. Who have that much power that they can decide that they don't want this property, that you'll give me another property? So what if he keep both of them? Now we got 128 rental properties. We respectfully ask you to turn this nonsense down. We understand that they think it's a good idea, and I like the picture, but pictures ain't what we need in Monroe. More rental properties is not what we need in Monroe. I guess that means my time's up. Thank you, and we ask that you turn this down.
Anyone else like to speak against this?
See you, John, much too often. I'm Andy Malcolm. Good to see y'all, Mayor, Council. Patrick, I had a question for you. Now, this, what did you say, it's 8.5 acres?
Yes.
So is it considered part of the large tract where the county built it? And he talked about his other developments making a
No, it's a tract.
Well, I mean, you know more than I do, but a planned residential development this really doesn't fit. I mean, it's just basically multifamily. Because there's no more room to, I mean, a PRD, it kind of feeds off itself. You have residential, retail. I don't really understand how it qualifies. I mean, why wouldn't it be just multifamily?
Point of order, Mayor, if you could, the public speakers need to address their comments to the mayor and council.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. As mentioned to you during our last meeting, Monroe's 60% rental property, and I gave you some comparisons. Loganville's 30, Madison's 34, Wanda 40, Snellville 13, Watkinsville 27. We believe we currently have adequate housing for our citizens who require public assistance, and we definitely want to look after it. I talked to you about the apartments on Plaza Drive, the ones behind them, the ones that go behind Walton Circle. We've got new ones over toward Lacey Street, not brand new, but they're relatively new. So they really keep going up everywhere, and I know there's limitations on what we can refuse, but I was thinking today, I remember a few years ago, I remember council people saying, when we were developing the depot and the cottonware, we want Monroe to be a destination, and everybody agreed. Well, I think we've become a destination. But I fear it's not in the nature that the council members had desired. We have become a destination for lower income people who need assistance. And I hate to say this, but when you take our amount of rental property, and here again, understand, most of this is low income rental property. We don't have that many nice apartments in Monroe. I mean, we just don't. We need them. We really do. But when you take things like Fish, Shepherd Staff, and our availability of low-income rental property, we're becoming a destination. And I know you can see it in the makeup of the city, and it's not good. I mean, guys, I've been here all my life. What I'm seeing is not good. My wife and I have spent, between $1 million and $2 million on projects in this town, and, we're starting to wonder, did we do it in the wrong place? I'll just be honest with you. We did it because we believed in the city of Monroe, but now it's with the complexion changing, it's kind of hard to be optimistic about it.
3 minutes are up.
How many?
3 minutes.
That's all I get. I got 10. They got 10. Where do I get 10?
There's one of them, and there was a bunch of y'all.
Well, we ask you respectfully to refuse this rezone approval of the parks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak against this rezone? Okay, if not, y'all got a 3-minute rebuttal.
Thank you. Very briefly, it bothers me that when someone who owns the company that brokered the deal to Skyline Trace stands up here and tells you that this deal shouldn't be approved. That's not right. Either these deals are good or they're not, and you can't pick and choose between them. It also bothers me if folks stand up here and say all their neighbors oppose something when they don't. We have given you the petitions that show that everyone in Olympian Way, except for the Longs, support this project. And the Longs have the absolute right to object to this project. I'm not submitting otherwise or trying to suggest otherwise, but there is a lot of support in this community for this project as well. Number 3, we do have an application pending to convert a piece of property that already is zoned for multifamily, that we could put anything on in terms of a multifamily project, to industrial. It is pending in front of you on the calendar for next month, and we're perfectly happy to pursue it, and you had that representation from my clients last time they were here. And 4th, this is not a rental property that is a single-family home. This is a rental property that is a commercial enterprise. The tax value anticipated for this project is $8.181 million over the course of the time of the LCI, the tax credit program. That is a substantial tax benefit for the city. You cannot compare rental housing with a commercial rental apartment of the quality that we're talking here. It's apples and oranges. We need this opportunity, not just for the benefit of the Bakers, but because this city council made a decision in 2008 that this area is to be redeveloped with devices like this in precisely this manner. And all we're doing is asking you to live up to that commitment that was already made. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We will close this part of the public hearing on this rezone here and bring it before the council.
I have a question for Pastor Money.
Yeah.
He said that the hourly wage was $12, $15, and $18. I want you to tell me where they are so I can tell my people.
There you go.
So tell me where they are.
That is part of our challenge around here.
You know, so I can tell
folks
my
who,
people.
You know, assistant managers at
Where? I mean, where do they go so they can get these good paying jobs?
well,
Tell me so I can go get one.
Go get one. I understand. Well, and I use those figures, listen, because they fit within the parameters of the challenge here. But I am talking about LPNs who work at the hospital, who probably fit in that range. Techs who work there. People like that. I think there are people within our community that entry-level executives. My sons, I've had 2 sons graduate from college in the last few years, and they all started out at salaries that were in this range with good degrees from good colleges. So, I think those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Granted, we are not replete with those. That's something we hope to work on as businesses come in, and we are blessed to have that kind of development coming around us. I think we're going to see more and more of that, of folks who fit in that range, who aren't on the lowest end of the earning ladder, but they're not on the high end either. And I think this is a great opportunity to do some things for those folks. And as I said, it's not apartment complexes that we'd be ashamed to live in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to say something. This is in my neighborhood, okay? And I've been to 3 different meetings. I've looked at it closely. I've scrutinized it, examined it up and down. I've talked to these people on the list. They want it in the neighborhood. Everyone I've talked to, Seymour's, you know, up and down the street, they're not against it. You know, I think with these conditions that Patrick has put out and the suggestions that we need to approve this, I'd like to make a motion to approve it. From
motion by Mr. Richardson.
BR1, BR1 to PRD. So we can set a precedent in this city for future development for apartments. We need something.
Point of clarification, does that motion come with any conditions, Councilman Richardson?
I'd like to make a motion that we, with these conditions that have been presented to us.
Is that 14 conditions as proper?
With all the conditions.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Richardson with the conditions. Is there a second? We have a second by Mr. Adcock. Any discussion?
I'd like to, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to speak to some of the things you said as a non-attorney, okay? I'm very much for redevelopment, and I'm very much for providing affordable housing. I think that, as other people have said, though, we need to concentrate on affordable housing for home ownership for the residents. We need to work on things that we're doing with our current residents to have their income levels moved up to where they can afford affordable homes that they can own. So I think that's where your pride comes in. So I don't appreciate the subtle hint that if we turn this down, we're making an illegal vote tonight. Because I don't think we are. I'm not an attorney. But I think we have full right to deny this, even based on that redevelopment, because the redevelopment did talk about affordable housing. I just feel like that apartments, such as what's proposed in the rezoning on a small acreage of land of 8.5 acres, and by the way, the new proposed zoning, which we'll be hearing first reading of later tonight, would require 12 acres instead of 10. So you know, with the low acreage and with the type of development, it would be my intent to vote no on this.
Well, there's a motion for, and there's a second. Any more discussion?
I have something I want to ask Patrick. Patrick, in the past, with our planned residential unit development, have we ever considered or been asked for a multifamily development to go into a PRD?
No, because if it fits completely in the R2 classification, then that's what you would ask for rezoning. The reason why this went as a PRD, because I asked the same question when they brought the application. I said, well, wait, this is just multifamily housing. Until I realized they were asking for 16-unit buildings, which is, our limitation is 8. So then the only way to propose what they want to do was to make it a planned district and let them write basically their own zoning. And that's part of what those conditions are, zoning conditions, so they could move forward with that. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. And I'd also like to go on record as stating that I was the broker of the Skyline Trace, and I abstained from the vote, and that was going on land that had been zoned was placed on land that had been zoned multifamily, I believe, for 20 years, in an area where there was a lot of other multifamily housing already existing. And that was in 2010, or thereabouts.
Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Any opposed?
No.
All right, we need a show of hands. All those for? 2. All those against? 6. Okay. The rezoning fails. All right, item C, zoning ordinance, rewrite draft with sign and corridor.
We'll have a public hearing on are there any, council can ask if there's any other motions. The mayor can ask if there's any other motions that want to be made.
Is there any other motions that need to be made, that want to be made?
I'd like to make a motion to deny, based on the fact that the size of the acreage does not conform to the requirement of our PUD,
Okay,
as it's currently written.
Motion by Ms. Mountain. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bradley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Show of hands, please, for the record.
What? Show
All
hands.
4.
For the denial.
For the denial.
For the denial. All 4 for the denial. Okay, all that's against the denial.
Against the denial.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed something.
Mayor?
Yes.
I respectfully ask that you restate the vote.
The vote to deny the rezone on 221 have 6 against. Ms. Scott, Ms. Dixon, Mr. Bradley, Ms. Malcolm, Mr. Little, and Mr. Fergus. All those for the rezone and against the motion is Mr. Richardson and Mr. Adcock.
And then the next motion.
That was the last, that was the motion that actually.
Oh, okay, I thought you said.
Okay. Item C, zoning ordinance rewrite draft with sign and corridor.
Mayor, I'll take this briefly. As you know, we are rewriting the zoning ordinance, and as part of that, we're required under Georgia law, under the zoning procedures law, to conduct a public hearing in regards to the requested rewrite of the planned rewrite of the zoning ordinance. So this would be the public hearing for that rewrite of the zoning ordinance as properly advertised. So, Mayor, if you would just conduct the public hearing.
Okay, we'll open the meeting up to the public to speak in favor of the zoning ordinance rewrite draft. Anyone has any comments about the sign ordinance? Okay, hearing none. We'll close this part of the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak against the zoning ordinance rewrite? Okay, if not, bring this before the council for a vote.
It needs no vote, Mayor. Just
No vote.
close the public meeting.
All right, this part of the public meeting is closed then. Item 3, we'll move into new business, a resolution for support of Green Haven Terrace Apartments. We just need to vote on it then, don't we, or do we?
Well, if the council would like to go ahead and vote on this, there's no necessary reading unless you guys want to provide that resolution of support.
I think we need to go on and do it just to cover our bases. Just read it and...
You want to vote against rereading the resolution, reading the resolution?
Yeah, so we can vote against it.
Okay. So we have a motion to vote against reading the resolution by Ms. Scott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Malcolm. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number 2, the approval of the sculpture project license agreement.
Mayor, I'm going to let Ms. Crosby just again speak to this project. The attorneys have looked at the contract and put their blessing on it. So if you had any questions about it, we can answer that.
The contract is in order, Mayor.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, be happy to answer them. Just to review, this is a partnership with DDA and the Monroe Art Guild to do public art, sculpture, original sculpture art throughout downtown. What we're asking the city for is permission to place the sculptures on the sites that you have before you, and to review the licensure agreements with the sculptors, which you also have and has been reviewed, and then assistance with the construction of the concrete pads with Public Works, which we've already coordinated that as well.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I just commend you for this endeavor. I think it's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very
Improvement.
excited about it too.
Good, thank you.
What's the timeline?
Well, the Art Guild is pursuing some grant funding to help with the awards, because they do the awards for the sculptors, and when that comes together, they will begin the program. So the sculptures will be in place 18 months after they're awarded. They'll issue requests for proposals from the sculptors, and once they're approved and reviewed, then they'll be installed and in for 18 months.
Okay. Thank you. Would entertain a motion for the approval?
I'll make that motion for approval.
Motion by Mr. Bradley.
Second.
Second by Ms. Dixon. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number 3 is the approval of the final plat and dedication of streets, retreat at Mill Creek.
Mayor, I'm going to need to abstain from this.
Okay.
Because I have an interest in the houses that will be constructed on the property.
Mayor, we can turn it over to Patrick, who can give us.
Okay.
Thank you. This is just to replat a previously platted subdivision and to dedicate the streets to public use and the right-of-ways to public use from private, with some stipulations, I believe, that we might have from the city attorney's office that are still pending on the agreement as far as the surety agreement goes. But we want to go ahead and get this approved pending those surety agreement arrangements.
That's correct, Mayor. If the mayor and council wish to accept these roads and approve the final plat, city attorney's office would ask that any motion to approve would be made subject to the owners and developers of the property entering into an appropriate performance agreement, maintenance surety agreement, for the purpose of finishing out the streets and sidewalks and the other development issues that have not been completed. And that agreement would need to be in acceptable form to our office and the chief code enforcement officer's office as well.
Question, Patrick, is this going to remain a gated community?
No, sir. That's one of the reasons why they're going to public streets. They're going to do away with the gating. And also there's some encroachment on the right-of-way that the original developer did that they're correcting as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry, but I hadn't found it back on here, but in the plat that we had earlier, we had some wording changes I think we need to make as far as the
Yes, sir.
Monroe Utilities Network.
We did look at that this afternoon, and we can definitely change it to City of Monroe Utilities or, yeah.
And there was multiple places that's referenced, I think, including one with a signature.
And it actually originally noted the Water, Light, and Gas Commission, so we're getting closer.
I just would want to include that change in whatever we adopt.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we need a motion on this.
Mayor, is this,
Street.
question, is this owned by Rialto?
Yeah, Riz, Georgia, I think.
I need to abstain. From time to time, I've represented them. I'd prefer to abstain.
And for the record, it's owned partially by Res GA Breedlove LLC, which is an entity owned by Rialto and also by another developer with an entity of the name of Walton Creek Ventures.
I just don't want to get into any possible, I mean, I'm not against it by any means. I think it's going to be a good project. I just don't want to vote.
Okay, so we have
I'll make a motion.
2 abstaining.
I move to approve.
Have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Bradley, second by Ms. Scott. Any more discussion on this?
And point of clarification, that motion is contingent upon a development agreement being entered into.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 4 is a discussion of the Monroe Forward Initiative. Sadie?
Wanted to introduce all of you to Monroe Forward. It's the name for our economic development initiative that I'll be overseeing in my new position as economic development specialist for the city. I have a little brief overview sheet of what we're hoping to do with this. Basically, as you all know, economic development is a little different than just economic growth. Economic growth is just a phenomenon in the market where the value of goods goes up over time. Economic development is the concerted effort of policymakers like yourselves and communities to preserve a level of living and direct that growth a certain way. I know that we all want to do that. We've had incredible master planning over time. And so what we'd like to do is think ahead for the growth and plan for it. So as you can see on that sheet, the goal of Monroe Forward is to develop a plan for the future of Monroe that emphasizes smart growth, quality of life, and exemplary service from the city. The ways we hope to accomplish this goal is an internal Monroe Forward team, which has already been established, and it has staff within the city from every department, where we're coming together and asking these questions and saying, how do we work together? What are all our roles? What do we bring to the table when it comes to development in the city? How do we implement the master plans and the future ideas that you all come up with? How do we do that in the best, most efficient way as a staff? So that's been established. We've met 3 times and just began the discussion of what do we dream about when we envision the future of Monroe? What do we see as the barriers moving forward? The names of the members of that team are there. So you can see it's a good representation from all across the city. And it's helpful for us, too, to know what each other's doing and to begin working together and have a common language, common goal, and be on the same page, and to hear from different perspectives. I need to know the barriers from utilities when we want to move a certain way in development, whether it's downtown or somewhere else in the city. The other piece of it is we want to establish an external team from the community, from lots representing multiple sectors, education, business owners, developers, economic development professionals, faith community, and so on. I want to bring them into the conversation and say, what do you see? This is what we're imagining. Get them engaged, and also lean on them to help us get that message when we've refined it and crafted it out to their networks of relationships. We hope to meet for the first time at the end of May 28th, to have the first luncheon. We're asking them to commit to a year and help us make the best decisions and get the community engaged. If we have great plans, they're not that great if people don't know them. They're not that great if we don't have a strategy for implementation, which I know you all know. So this is just a focused effort of the city to say, well, then let's do that. Some other things we'd like to do to accomplish that goal, just have the list there for you. Streamlining work between departments. making the process of doing business, moving to Monroe, living in Monroe, and developing in Monroe as clear as possible. One simple initiative that we've already got the wheels turning on is to put all of our forms and publications in one place online where you can find them, a searchable database where you can find them, access them, and easily do everything you need to do, have it prepared when you come in. Of course, you can still come in, do it all on paper, but just bring that up to speed so that people can get what they need to know. We're going to collaborate with Walton County to align our development goals, make sure we're working hand in hand with the Development Authority and the goals of even the business relationships of the Chamber and what they're hoping to do. Identify barriers to growth, and then come up with creative solutions to those barriers. Our weaknesses are opportunities for strengths. They're just the flip side of it. And we want to collect and celebrate success stories. For example, we all know that a lot of people come in to complain about utilities or raise questions of, is this the best way? What they might not know is that we listened as a city and that we've made changes and we're responding. So we have an opportunity to do here in Monroe what you can't do if you're a large corporation or a large city. We can actually listen and pretty easily say, well, what can we do? Let's change this, let's modify this, let's respond and have a level of service that you just don't find outside of small towns. So we have an opportunity there, and we need to be sharing those stories. When we got together as our internal team and started talking about what stories do you have, they started coming out. Oh, well, this person called, we went there, we fixed that. This person had this issue, we immediately responded and dealt with it. We're doing a good job, we just don't share those stories a lot. So we like to collect those, kind of celebrate what we've done, because that'll create a culture that this is how we do business. A lot of it we're already doing. It's really just putting it all together, filling in the gaps. And then we will be creating economic development marketing pieces, crafting the message, and helping get that into the hands of developers of the future, the people that we want to attract and the kind of growth that we want to see in Monroe. A lot of it is just clarifying, putting on paper who we are. Because if we know what we want and who we are, it's easy to say yes and no to things because we know what we're looking for. Be happy to answer any questions. We'll be giving reports to you guys as council over time as we develop this. And we want it to basically put on paper in front of you what we've all kind of been wanting and talking about for a long time. Any questions or suggestions?
Sadie, I'd just like for maybe you to have some of these at our council meetings each month on the table, just for people that come in for whatever reason, that they can actually see this and, you know, as they sit in the audience, read it and understand it. And that helps to get the word out as well.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is discussion and approval of the clinic provider work site RX.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take that. If you remember last week, I came to you saying we may have a recommendation for you for the clinic, and staff would like to recommend that we go with Worksite RX. We sent the RFP out, got about 8 responses. We interviewed, I believe, interviewed 3, including Local Hospital, Clearview Regional Medical Center, a company called Care ATC, and then Worksite RX. Worksite RX, from our checklist, we feel that they would handle everything that we needed, plus some. The biggest thing would be the data sharing that we aren't getting now with Care here. Cost is, it's pretty much the same. Utilization's up. As I said last week, we're about 116% in our clinic, which is very good. So we're looking at adding a second half day in the near future, and their transition time would be the quickest as well. Just some other things to add. My data sharing, they were by far on top of the list there. They're currently in Glenn County, if I'm not mistaken, Renee. So Brunswick, Georgia. So they're in a local government there, and they come highly recommended from the industry. So we don't have a contract yet. We're still trying to work out some of the logistics of the transition, mainly keeping our providers, our PA, our nurse, and our MD, because I feel like that's why the utilization's up, because we found that perfect fit. So we're working out that. So there's no contract right now, but I would like to ask for your approval for Worksite RX contingent upon when we do work out a contract. We'll send it to our city attorneys, and once they approve it, we can move forward. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. One other thing I failed to mention were they're very high on the shared clinic model, meaning we can go out and recruit other businesses or whatnot, whether it be public or private, to share some of the cost of this clinic. So that would be an option as well. I'm more than happy to answer any questions about this.
One clarification on the shared data. It's shared data with our insurance provider. According to HIPAA rules, it's not sharing data with us.
Okay, nobody got any questions, and we'll need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Malcolm, second by Mr. Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number 6, we have the first reading of Buildings and Building Regulations Ordinance Amendment.
Mayor, thank you. I'll take that. Before I begin reading, basically I've got 3 edits to our code of ordinances. Some of these are cleanup in conjunction with the actual zoning ordinance rewrite. The last of them, item number 8, is actually some additions that are the result of comments we received from the town hall meetings about concerns about parking on the grass, parking in the front yard, peeling paint, and those sort of things. So we added a property maintenance section to our code of ordinances, which the chief, the code enforcement officer and his staff will have the ability to enforce. So if you'll bear with me, we do have a little bit to get through, but hopefully it won't be too long. Fortunately, I am not reading the entire 105 pages of the new zoning ordinance. I'll only be reading it by reference. But item number 6 is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Monroe, Georgia with respect to buildings and building regulations and for other purposes. The mayor and the council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. Article 1. The code of the City of Monroe is hereby amended by deleting Article 2, Section 1841 in its entirety and substituting the following in lieu thereof. Section 1841 adopted. The following codes, the latest edition, is adopted and amended by the State Department of Community Affairs, shall be enforced by the city. International Building Code, International Mechanical Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Plumbing Code, National Electrical Code, International Fire Code, International Energy Conservation Code, International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings. Sub B, the following appendices of the codes adopted in subsection A of the section are hereby adopted by reference as though they were fully copied herein. International Building Code Appendices F and I, International Mechanical Code Appendix A, International Fuel Code Appendices A and B, International Plumbing Code Appendices B, D, E, and F, International Fire Code Appendices D, E, and F, National Electric Code, the Appendix, International Energy Conservation Code, International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings, Appendices A, B, E, F, G, H, and J. Sub C, the latest edition of the following codes is adopted and amended by the State Department of Community Affairs are hereby adopted by reference as though they were copied herein fully. The International Property Maintenance Code, the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, and the International Existing Building Code. Article 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia. This constitutes the first reading, Mayor.
Okay. We have a first reading of the Business and Business Regulations Ordinance Amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Monroe, Georgia with respect to business and business regulations and for other purposes. The Mayor and the Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. Article 1. The Code of the City of Monroe is hereby amended by deleting Article 3, Section 22-181 in its entirety. Article 2. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3. This ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia. This constitutes the first reading, Mayor.
Okay. Item 8, first reading, Property Maintenance Ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Monroe, Georgia with respect to buildings and building regulations and for other purposes. The Mayor and the Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. Article 1. The Code of the City of Monroe is hereby amended by adding Article 6, Property Maintenance, Divisions 1 through 3 as Sections 18-249 through 18-275 as follows. Division 1, generally, Section 18249, purpose. Purpose of this article is to establish minimum requirements and standards for premises and structures in order to promote and protect the public health, safety, convenience, order, and general welfare of the citizens of the city. Section 18250, scope. This article shall apply to all existing structures and premises and constitute minimum requirements and standards for existing structures and premises. Section 18251, definitions. Terms not defined herein shall have their meanings as defined in the city zoning ordinance, the development regulations, and the construction code, or in the absence of such definition, words shall have their common dictionary definition. Whenever the words dwelling unit, premises, building, rooming house, or rooming unit, or story are stated in this article, they shall be construed as though they were followed by the words or any part thereof. The following definitions shall apply in the interpretation and enforcement of this article: bathroom, bedroom, dwelling unit, exterior property, garbage, habitable space, junk vehicle, maintenance, occupancy, occupant, operator, owner, premises, rubbish, toilet room, trash, weeds, and yard trimmings. Section 18252, penalties and enforcement. Sub A, shall the code enforcement officer or any officer of the city authorized to issue citations determine that any person is in violation of this section, he shall give the offending party 15 days' notice to correct the same. This notice shall be in writing and shall be a prerequisite to bringing charges against any offender. Sub B, should the person fail to comply with requests made therein within the 15-day period, the code enforcement officer or any officer in the city authorized to issue citations may proceed with formal charges as for the violation of any city ordinance. Each day the violation exists thereafter shall be deemed a separate offense. Upon the municipal court accepting a plea of guilty or finding the person guilty, penalties of Section 111 shall apply, and additionally the court may issue an order to comply. Sub C, an order to comply may be issued by the municipal court to a person who fails to eliminate the violation within the notice given by the code enforcement officer. The order to comply may give the guilty person a period of time to eliminate the violation. Division 2, property. Section 18253, fences and walls. Sub A, fences and walls shall be maintained in a structurally sound condition and in good repair. Sub B, fences shall be free from loose or rotting materials and shall have braces and supports attached or fastened in accordance with common building practices. Section 18254, grass, weeds, and uncultivated vegetation. Premises and exterior property shall be maintained free from grass, weeds, or uncultivated vegetation in excess of 12 inches in height. Exceptions, parcels 2 acres or greater in size. Sub B, premises and exterior property abutting the public right-of-way are required to keep sidewalks free of cut grass, weeds, and shrubs. Sub C, the unpaved areas of any premises or exterior property are required to have established and maintain grass or turf cover, landscaping, or appropriate ground cover such as mulch, pine straw, etc., to keep the soil from being exposed or eroded. Section 18255, open or outdoor storage. Sub A, appliances or other materials. The open or outdoor storage of appliances, building materials, or rubbish, equipment, garbage, goods, glass materials, merchandise, trash, or similar items shall not be permitted, maintained, or stored on any premises for more than 24 hours. Sub B, exceptions. Property where outdoor storage is authorized by the zoning ordinance. Sub 2, cut wood which is neatly stacked in links not to exceed 3 feet for the personal use of the owner or occupant. Sub 3, residentially zoned property 5 acres or greater in size. Section 18256, trees. Sub A, hazardous trees. Dead, dying, damaged, or diseased trees shall not be allowed to exist or to be maintained on any premises which are hazardous to persons on adjacent property or to adjacent property. A finding by a registered forester or certified arborist shall constitute prima facie evidence that a tree is in danger of falling upon adjacent lots or public streets due to the death of impending death of the tree, or due to damage by weather conditions, or due to disease infestation. Sub B, tree stumps. Sub 1, height. Tree stumps greater than 12 inches in height above the ground level shall not be permitted or maintained on any premises for more than 30 days after the tree has been cut down. Sub 2, exceptions. Sub A, property is covered by a valid land disturbing permit, or Sub B, properties that are 2 acres or greater in size. Tree debris. Fallen trees or parts of trees. Fallen trees / removed tree limbs or other portions of any tree shall not be permitted or maintained on the ground of any premises for more than 30 days. Exceptions. Property is covered by a valid land disturbing permit, cut wood which is neatly stacked in links not to exceed 3 feet, or property 2 acres or greater in size. 18257, swimming pools. Stagnant water in swimming pools conducive to the breeding or harboring of mosquitoes or other insects shall not be permitted or maintained on any premises. A finding by the health official of the county environmental health department shall constitute prima facie evidence that stagnant water in a swimming pool is conducive to the breeding or harboring of mosquitoes or other insects. Section 18258, parking of vehicles in the front yard in a residential district. Parking shall not be allowed in the front yard between a principal building and a street, public or private, or in front of the front entrance to any building on any property used for residential purposes, with the exception that in single-family residential districts, excluding townhouse developments, vehicles may park in front of the principal building on a driveway leading to a garage, carport, or side yard parking space as required. Section 18259, parking a vehicle on proper surfaces. All vehicles of any type shall at all times be parked only on impervious parking surfaces installed for such as concrete or asphalt driveways or parking strips. On aggregates properly installed and confined as ground cover for a parking area, such as pea gravel or river stone commonly used for driveways, or on alternate pervious surfaces intended for vehicular traffic and approved by the code enforcement officer. No vehicles of any type at any time shall be regularly parked, stored, or maintained on grass, landscaping, plants, bushes, or bare soil areas anywhere in the city. Division 3, buildings, section 18260, exterior surface treatment. All exterior surfaces, including but not limited to doors, door and window frames, cornices, porches, and trim, shall be maintained in good repair. Exterior wood surfaces other than decay-resistant woods shall be protected from the elements and decay by painting or other protective covering or treatment. Peeling, flaking, and chipped paint shall be eliminated and surfaces repainted. All siding and masonry joints shall be maintained weather-resistant and watertight. Section 18261, exterior walls. Exterior walls of buildings shall be maintained free from holes, breaks, loose, or rotting materials, and shall be maintained weatherproof and properly surface coated as needed to prevent deterioration. Section 18262, roofs. Roofs of buildings shall be maintained so that they are structurally sound and in a safe condition and have no defects which might emit rain or cause dampness in the interior portions of a building. All portions, additions, or sections of a roof, including but not limited to the fascia, eave, soffit, sheathing, rafter tail, barge rafter, vent screening, gutter, downspout, roof track, lead or metal lead or metal flashing, shall be complete with all trim strips, moldings, brackets, braces, and supports attached and fastened in accordance with common building practices. Section 18263, exterior stairways, decks, porches, and balconies. Exterior stairways, decks, porches, balconies, and all appurtenances attached thereto of buildings shall be maintained so that they are structurally sound and good repair with proper anchorage and capable of supporting the imposed load. Section 18264, windows. Windows of buildings shall be fully supplied. Excuse me. Windows of buildings shall be fully supplied and maintained with glass window panes or with a substitute approved by the code enforcement officer, which are without open cracks or holes. Screens, if provided, shall be securely fastened to the window. Section 18265, exterior doors and frames. Exterior doors of buildings shall be maintained so they fit reasonably well within their frames to substantially prevent rain and wind from entering the building. Exterior door jambs, stops, headers, and moldings shall be securely attached to the structure and maintained in good condition without splitting or deterioration. Additionally, exterior doors shall be provided with proper hardware and maintained in proper working condition. Section 18266, decorative features. Cornices, belt courses, corbels, terracotta trim, wall facings, and similar decorative features shall be maintained in good repair with proper anchorage in a safe condition. Sections 18267 to 275 are reserved. 267 and 275 are reserved. Article 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council of the city of Monroe, Georgia. That constitutes the first reading, Mayor.
Okay. Item number 9, first reading of the zoning ordinance rewrite.
One moment, if you will, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe, Georgia. The Mayor and the Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. The zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe, officially adopted November 4th, 1997, as thereafter amended, shall be amended by deleting said ordinance in its entirety and substituting the following in lieu thereof. Article 1, Introduction. Section 100, Title. Section 110, Purpose, Authority, and Enactment. Section 120, Jurisdiction. Article 2, Definitions. Section 200, General. Section 210, Specific Definitions. Article 3, Establishment of Districts. Section 300, Districts. 310, District Boundaries. 320, Rules for determining district boundaries when uncertainty exists. Section 330, Procedures for zoning of property to be annexed. Article 4, Application of Regulations. Section 400, Use. 410, Reserved. 420, Yards. 430, One principal structure on a lot. 435, One principal use on a lot. 440, accessory structures or uses. 450, building permit requirement. 455, building permit issuance. 460, buildings to abut public streets. Section 470, relocation of building requirements. Article 5, general standards for all districts. Section 500, non-conforming buildings and uses. 510, control of curb cuts and vision clearance. 520, off-street automobile parking. 530, off-street loading and unloading space. 540, off-street storage and parking of vehicles and equipment. 550, screening, buffering, and landscaping. 560, illumination. 570, lot coverage. Article 6, use provisions by district. Section 600, general. Section 610, residential districts, R, R1A, R2, and MH. Section 620, commercial districts, P, CBD, B1, B2, and B3. Section 630, industrial district, M1. Section 640, overlay districts, HPO, AH, CDO and MHDO. Section 641, the Historic Preservation Overlay District, or HPO. Section 642, the Airport Hazard Overlay District, AH. Section 643, the Corridor Design Overlay District, CDO. Section 643A, Corridor Design Standards and Guidelines. Section 644, the Monroe and Walton Mills Historic Overlay District, MHDO. Section 650, Planned Development Districts, PRD, PPD, PCD, and PID. Section 651, Planned Residential Districts. 652, Planned Professional Districts. 653, Planned Commercial Districts. 654, Planned Industrial Districts. 655, Design Standards and Criteria for Planned Development Districts. Article 7, Dimensional Requirements and Exceptions. Section 700, Charts of Dimensional Requirements. 710, Exceptions and Modifications. Article 8 is reserved for site design. Article 9, reserved for building design. Article 10, supplemental standards for specific uses. Section 1000, accessory structures and uses. 1010, reserved. 1020, cemeteries. 1030, reserved. 1031, archery range or firing range. 1040, individual manufactured homes. 1045, manufactured home parks. Article 11, telecommunication towers and antennas. Section 1100, intent and purpose. 1110, applicability. 1120, permitting requirements. 1130, general tower and antenna regulations. 1140, towers and antennas permitted. 1150, towers and antennas which require administrative approval. 1160, towers and antennas which require a conditional use permit. Article 12, signs. 1200, short title. 1210, definitions. 1220, purpose. 1230, administration. 1240, sign permit required. Section 1250, regulated signs. 1255, construction and maintenance requirements. 1260, enforcement. Section 1265, prohibited signs and devices. 1270, non-conforming signs. 1280, exempt signs. 1285, variances. Article 13, reserved for landscaping and tree preservation. Article 14, administration and enforcement. Section 1400, enforcement. 1405, permitting requirements. 1410, planning commission. 1415, city council. 1419, amendment to the comprehensive plan. 1420, zoning ordinance text amendments. 1421, zoning map amendments. 1425, conditional uses. 1430, variances. 1440, notice provisions. 1445, public hearing procedure. 1450, disclosure of campaign contributions and or gifts. 1460, conflict of interest in zoning decisions. Article 15, legal provisions. Section 1500, conflict with other laws. Section 1510, severability. Section 1520, repeal of conflicting ordinances. Section 1530, effective date. Article 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after the date of July 1, 2014. This constitutes the first reading on the 13th of May, 2014, Mayor.
Okay, one correction that I saw, section 644 is not listed in the table of contents.
I believe y'all got the wrong attachment to your agenda item, so I apologize.
Okay.
But we will check that and make sure we get it right.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on these things? The property maintenance ordinance, which I think is really good. I like the things that are in there, and I think many of these did come up during some of the public meetings on the overall zoning. But this is going to affect, obviously, property owners pretty heavy throughout the city. And I just wonder, how do we communicate to them that we're close to passing an ordinance that's going to have a significant effect on it?
We can definitely have over the next month, do some sort of educational piece, whether it be, of course, social media. May not even be a bad idea. Doing a town hall with Patrick, and just have the list of updates that's easy to read, you know, and maybe give some examples.
I'm just saying because these were not included in the big zoning things that we had the public meetings on, so it's probably good to do something like these.
And just for clarification, Councilman Bradley, is we have section 62.9, which really already addresses some of these things. It just doesn't spell them out as clearly. But we've mirrored the grace period provision such that there's a 15-day opportunity for notice to be given by the code office and then for corrective measures.
And I'm not disagreeing with any of the things out there. I just want to be sure, because it does affect property owners throughout the city.
Absolutely.
And do we have the manpower to immediately begin to enforce this after?
Immediately, no, but we can rectify that. And another thing I wanted to say is on that property maintenance ordinance. It also mirrors the property maintenance code, which we've already adopted. I mean, it's almost verbatim in some instances, so it's something that we definitely need to get the manpower and the ability to enforce. Basically, the inventory of housing in the city.
All right. No other business, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Scott.
Second.
Second by Mr. Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.